Hi everyone, it's Majorie here from the Punk Priestess. Happy Gemini season. We are going to do some Tarotscopes for each zodiac sign, and I have a mixture of tarot and oracle and astrology decks. We're going to mix it in, and my books are open. So if you want a personal reading with me, make sure that you head to all the links that I have listed below this page and in the tabs. So I'll be happy to read for you personally. And we're just going to start off with Gemini. It's your season. Happy birthday, Geminis. And let's see what the cards have to say here. All right. So first off, I have here, oops, our Son of Pentacles. And this is upright here. So this is also our Knight of Pentacles for more traditional decks. So I do think this is a great card to symbolize a lot of opportunities coming for you, whether it be professionally, whether it be like your health and motivation. I do think this is a great start for you for your season. Really feeling the momentum, really feeling like really goal oriented and like, okay, how do I want to live my best life this Gemini season, but also what kind of goals do I have that I want to maintain and go after for the next solar year? And I do think this is a great card too if you are interviewing, if you are trying to get a promotion or like leveling up in your business, in your career, education, any of those things. Like this is kind of saying like you're doing the work and you're going to see the opportunity come to you. So this is good. And usually, with the night cards, there's a lot of speed connected to this card and to this energy. So I do think hopefully there's some relative speed for you to kind of align yourself with what you're trying to pursue on the material in the material world. Um, yeah, a lot of opportunity there. I'm going to pull some other cards coming in hot. So I have here our Four of Coins reversed, and then I have our Knight of Cups upright. So another knight coming in. So we have two here, two different suits though. So I think this is also a good indication for relationships. Like if you are trying to put new effort, new energy in relationships, or new relationships are coming into your life, I mean, this can be romantic or just in general relationships on every spectrum. This is a good card symbolizing that this is where you need to put your heart. This is where you need to put your center, your focus, and this will also align. We have compatible elements here. We have the pentacles, which is earth, and then we have the cups, which is water. So it is very compatible. And we still have an influx of Taurus energy already coming through. Still have Pisces energy astrologically. So I do think this is kind of symbolizing that this intuitive, spiritual, creative, lovey-dovey type of energy is precedent in your life, as well as a lot of professional advancement, financial advancement, or if there's anything material you're trying to bring in, it's a good indication that there's some speed to get these things solidified in your life. And you're ready because with the Four of Coins reversed, you are having your arms wide open. You're like, I'm ready, universe, for some new things, for this new year ahead of me in my life. I'm ready for, deeper loving connection and fulfillment with my heart. I'm ready for more advancement professionally, financially, with my stability. Like you really want it all and you're ready for it. You're available, you're open, you've been thinking about it. You're really, trying to focus on manifestation. You're trying to focus on bringing the things that you want into your life. And you've seen what you've been able to do the past year, but now it's like, all right, time to level up, time to really go after abundance. So I think it's good. And you've made space for it. If you've had to like let go of anything, if you had to, quit a job, end some type of schooling or, certification program or, let go of relationships that were stale and stagnant and not uplifting you. This is a clear indication that you're ready for something fresh, something new. And you're going to have not just a couple, like just one opportunity, you're going to have a couple opportunities to see that, come into fruition. Okay. And I'm pulling here the Queen of Coins reversed. So, I do feel like you have to think about like the longevity of some of these things you're trying to bring into your life. And, a lot of times like we're so conditioned to think about kind of a short-term goal. Okay, like I want to find a new place to be happy, to feel, fulfilled. And, I want to make like this type of money. I want this type of salary, for example, or like we think very like in the moment. And the Queen of Pentacles is like really asking to think deeper, to think beyond, to think like really really think about the people that you're going to be engaging with and how those people can either empower you or how they can disenfranchise you. And if you already kind of feeling like stuck with certain relationships and connections in your life, especially if there's like any women in your life that you're kind of like, "Oh, I don't know if I can grow or I can advance myself in this connection, or with this opportunity." This is kind of a clear signal that you need some type of maturity when it comes to people in your life. You need like people who can elevate you. So I just kind of think like you need to really redefine what it is you're going after, not just on the surface level, but like the deepening, the longevity, and see how that trajectory can really help shape your future. And I'm just going to pull one last card here, and I will take a picture of all these spreads for every zodiac sign. So just look on my Substack for those. All right, and they're going to end here with the card of intuition. And the astrology of this is Cancer, Mercury in Cancer, which is coming up soon. So, this is a really good indication here. It's going to be like next month this happens. So, I really do feel just saying like trust your intuition and like connect to your heart center. Look at your life as already abundant. Look at your life as already, the glass is half full. Like you're still wanting more, like you're open, you're ready for more opportunity and growth and expansion in all areas of life, but you really have to deepen this. You can't just be surface level with your vision board. Like you have to really deepen and feel things out and like understand like what it is your soul is really going after. And that is what what to move forward into. But I think you need to really listen to your intuition and prepare too, because you're going to be getting a multitude of different things. So, like, be careful what you wish for because you're going to get like an influx of it relatively quickly with these night cards. So, I think we have to kind of listen to the wisdom of the Queen of Pentacles and really like find that rootedness with what it is we're going after so that when we choose option opportunity, it is the best thing for us. So that is the mini reading for you, Gemini. Happy birthday. And if you want a more fuller spread and like astrological insights for your own personal chart, make sure that you head over to my website to book with me. All right. So moving on to the next sign here, and we have Cancer. So I'm just going to go in order of the seasons coming up astrologically. So that means Taurus. I'm sorry, you were late, you were last, but we just had your season. So all right. Sorry, I have a little allergies going on right now. All right, so Cancer. Starting out strong here, we have our full reverse. So, you're waiting for the right moment, and you need to really have more faith in yourself. Maybe you feel that your faith has kind of, been destroyed in humanity or in yourself. And that, I wouldn't be surprised with recently Mars going retrograde in your sign for, it spent 8 months in your sign. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I think you're still adjusting. I think you're still like trying to figure out, what it is that you want. You're approaching to something new. Like this could really be like, you're approaching like your solar return. You're approaching your birthday and you're thinking about, okay, like what else can I bring into my life? What else, do I want for myself? But with the full reverse, it's kind of saying like you still need some brainstorming. Like you're not fully ready yet to figure that out and to understand what it is that you're trying to aim for. And that's okay. Like you have all of Gemini season to reflect on that and don't force this path for you. But I also think you need to kind of feel just more optimistic about your future. And also, I think you're preparing for Jupiter to enter your sign. So that's going to happen next month. So I think there is kind of this like anticipation, this feeling that a lot's going to change and shift. And maybe that kind of overwhelms you. You don't know what that means. You just feel like this emotional reaction, but you don't understand the full complexities of like, okay, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel it in anticipation? Why do I feel like I'm on the verge of something? What it is, I don't know. But that's where you have to have your faith-based spiritual practice kind of coming in, honoring your guides, honoring the loved ones on the other side to have you kind of understand and in tune what it is that is being communicated to you. I have here the Four of Wands. So, I do think this is some celebratory times. Like I would plan something fun for your birthday, like maybe a little trip, or, I think you need to spend time celebrating yourself and with the people closest to you. I also think that it's a great time for you to communicate and express your ideas to the people around you with the Queen of Swords. So, if you're not like fully clear what it is you want for like your future, your new beginning, all these things, and this new like sometimes it's kind of daunting. It's like, okay, my birthday's coming up. I have to have all these goals and ideas. I have to figure out what I want for the next year. Like sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and this is just kind of saying like, communicate things to yourself. If you want to write things down, but also like talk about things with others because that can give you some ideas about what it is that is worth putting your time and energy towards and what is worth celebrating. And I think you really need to celebrate yourself. I feel that when Jupiter moves into your sign, which Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, it's going to feel a lot more compatible. It's going to feel like things can flow. And I think even like mentally, you're going to just have a more concrete vision of what it is that you're trying to bring into your future. But yeah, I would kind of start making some plans. If you want to get Airbnb, if you want to get your friends together, family, like I think it's a good time to, do this birthday differently. Let's kick off this Cancer season differently because Jupiter is going to be there. So let's kind of celebrate this. It's been 12 years since Jupiter has been in Cancer. So, just really making sure that you reflect on what it is that you want to expand and, don't be afraid to speak it into existence. Okay. All right, so what I have here is the Knight of Wands. So like kind of a different beat. We have the Knight of Wands, and then I have this card Quarrel. And the astrology behind this is Cancer and Mars. So this is really Mars and Cancer. So this is really like what you just been through. You just been through hell. You've been through a battle. Like last fall was tough. Beginning of this year was tough in its own way. I mean, this can be physical battles that you're actually like, going at, combating, but it can also be like psychological and intuitive. Like it's not just sometimes people are like, well, it wasn't a hard time for me. It wasn't a struggle for me. Well, you have to like focus on like the deeper parts of it, deeper parts of the lesson. Like we're all going through trials and tribulations in and out. Like not every day is a bad day, not every day is a good day. But there is a mix and flow, and we have to be very aware and cautious of what we're putting our energy towards in the battles that are existing amongst us. Not all of them are going to be aggressive. Some of them are going to be, pretty subtle, but in time you'll kind of see the repercussions or the lessons and the wisdom feed through. And that was going to be in the eclipse season of 2028. I know we have a couple years, but a lot of what has been going through on in 2024 and 2025 with Mars and Cancer is going to come back around in 4 years, 4 to 3 years. So, it's kind of like, reflect on what the past, 8 months really taught you about yourself, how much you've changed, and, maybe get realigned with your goals. Maybe you started like connecting deeper with your intuition, but there was some change that came. Even if it wasn't like physical changes, it was definitely on a psychological, spiritual level. And there is this battle going on with yourself, with the Knight of Wands. There's a little bit of aggression. Maybe you are actually physically battling with others, and maybe there is, some animosity in your friendships or relationships or work, or maybe there's other people who are kind of combative around you. But these cards are kind of spread into like two different sections. It's just kind of saying like, have opportunity, have, more faith, have more openness, have more spontaneity to bring some new things in and be very clear and devoted to that idea, to those thoughts, so that you can bring them into your life on a physical level. And don't be afraid to tap into a new beginning with the Fool. Like if it's reversed, like you want to be at the cliff and you're getting closer to getting there, but when you're at the cliff, you want to know the response. You want to know what to do. And I think like you can keep battling it out. You can keep fighting against yourself. You can like, be in denial about things, or kind of pushing things for another time, like, oh, I don't have the time to deal with this pressing issue that is like you're facing right now. This is kind of saying like you need to find a way through. You need to make sure that you acknowledge the quarrels, you acknowledge the conflict around you, internally and externally around you. You can't be blind to that, but you also have to make sure that you're being very vocal and diligent about what it is you want to bring into your future, and also to think about good times ahead to celebrate. It can't be all gloom and doom. And you kind of have to figure out like what space, what energetic space you want to live in. And that is going to be what you choose to jump into at the edge of the cliff with the Fool. So a lot there, a lot to unpack, see how that resonates with you. Um, check to see your chart, if your Cancer degrees, and go and see the eclipses and the degrees in 2028, 2029, and see how that aligns with you. Um, all right. And moving into Leo. All right, Leo. Okay. So what I have here, we're just going to start. I have the Five of Swords upright. So you've also been kind of going through a journey. You've been going through a journey, and it's definitely like it's a mental thing right now. Like thinking about like if there's been arguments, if there's been a lot of internal like conflict too. It's like sometimes we're like our worst enemy. We're the ones who are against ourselves and in our own head, and having really high expectations. Maybe there's a little bit of imposter syndrome going on, but there is definitely something going on. Either like conversations you're hearing or witnessing. I mean, of course, it could be collective of social media and what's going on politically and things like that. But outside of that, in your own personal life, it's just kind of thinking about what is the contention. And is it you against you? Are you the one who's like in your own head and causing kind of like your own downfall and like negative and um are you talking bad about other people? Like sometimes like we're the problem. Sometimes we're the ones who dramatize things for no reason. And just thinking about, are you going above and beyond for no reason? Are you causing external conflict for entertainment? It's like sometimes, you fall into that trap, Leo, because you are the entertainer. You are, the actor. You love drama. And sometimes you have to make sure like you're not the one spitting the pot. You're not creating the drama just to fulfill some type of entertainment need. Like that's what reality TV is for. Like be involved in that. But I just think that there's a lot going on around you and like inside of your own mind and your head about, just conflict, just things. And you can try to put blame and just say like, okay, well, other people are causing this conflict and things like that. It's not me. Well, we're all intertwined with each other. So if someone has a certain way about us or something like, it's from our energy. And we have to kind of take a look in. And that might be kind of hard for you to do. But I think the Five of Swords is kind of saying, like, this is not going to lift. You're still going to be in this unless you really contemplate what is the root cause of some of this drama in your life. And if you are a determining factor of it. So a little self-reflection there, I'm not going to be all buttercup, sugar cup and butterflies and, you know, rainbows and kittens. Like it's definitely there are some things that you need to face. You need to think about. It's like, are you the bad energy in the room? Or, are there other people that are, causing detriment in your life that's making you feel, like negative and things like that. So, but I think like, overall, the continuous thread is that there's something going on in your life that you need to address. And maybe start out with a text. Maybe it starts out with, gossip or something you heard, something you read, something like eavesdropped on. Like there's definitely something with communication that has resulted in some type of chaos, some type of drama in your life. And either you spun the web or you got stuck in it and you have to find your way through. I do have the death card here coming in. I spoke about rainbows and I pulled the card. So, I do think this is good kind of, I mean, we had that Scorpio full moon on Monday. It was really intense last week. And, I really do feel this is kind of saying, all things shall pass. But again, you're the one, you have to be the Grim Reaper of your story. Like you have to end things, even if it's painful, even if it's like even your own behavior. Sometimes you have to look in and be like, I got to end some of my own behavior. I got to end some of my own trappings. And we have our Ace of Cups here, which is kind of saying that there's a new opportunity, there's a new beginning, there's something more that is like beautiful and like this homecoming, something nurturing, something spiritual and intuitive that wants to come in and creative. And maybe, some of this drama, some of the confliction is like diminishing the mental space in your mind for you to create and the emotional capacity to create and to love and be nurturing because you're kind of, stuck in this web. And you need to get back to your creative self-expression. That is your birthright. You need to get back to that, not the lower vibration of drama and being really wrapped up in things that aren't serving your highest potential. So let's have an ending to this. Let's have some type of transformation and let's make this like what you do in Gemini season. And maybe, if it's not someone that you're like verbally against, or, mentally against, or even with yourself in conflict with, this could be social media. This could be like you need to really understand your social media habits and maybe you need to take a break. Like I think maybe maybe take Gemini season off. There's going to be so much chaos spitting at you anyways. Maybe take that season off to reassess like what's important to you and to find some deeper emotional fulfillment in other ways than being constantly online. So I just feel like there's a lot, check your finances too. We have our um King of Pentacles here. So check your finances, especially if you're spending money on something or getting into contracts, like just make sure it's the right thing. Or maybe, if you have been, let's say you're getting a house and you've been in this like 8-week process and like escrow and all these things, like maybe this could be a finalization of that. So it could be a good thing and maybe it is celebrated with a rainbow. But I think overall, just really make sure like your dealings with others, especially if contracts, especially with, huge sums of money, is actually going to be worthwhile and be legitimate. So there's just some concern there. I would be a little cautious of that. And also maybe you like this can be something too. It's like behaviors, like distraction energy. If you're getting wrapped up in that, like how is that influencing your finances? Even too, like, we think consumerism, we think, capitalism is going to cure us. It's always going to be like a new thing we get to buy or like waiting for, our mail to come and, our packages and things like that. Like again, getting caught up in the instant gratification, you don't need that. Um, I have here Venus, and this is like this vintage astrology deck, and this is like the season of winter. So let's kind of see what happens with Venus in the winter times. This is going to be December, January, February. Like we're a little bit far out, but or maybe you want to reflect on where your heart was, where your energy was, where your relationship was, your money was in the beginning of the year and at the end of 2025, 24. But I do feel like this is kind of saying like what goes around comes around. So reflect on um, you know like where your heart is and where you want it to be as we end this year. And also just thinking about like winter is cold. Like does your heart feel cold? Do you feel cold to, your creative self-expression and in some of your relationships? Do they feel cold? Do they feel dying? Do they feel dead? And maybe you need to contemplate if you want to resuscitate them and give them some time and space to heal, or maybe you want to cut them and just find greater hope and fulfillment with yourself. So there's a lot there to unpack. Also, with Venus being financial too, Venus is money, making sure you're just connected to the things. Like I think there's something like long term you need to think about and making sure you actually can afford the livelihood, the lifestyle that you are really fighting for. So that is the astrology for you, Leo. And we are going to move on to Virgo. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Make little kitties here. All right. So Virgo, I have for you, we're starting out strong. We have Temperance, and this is upright. So beautiful card, beautiful energy. Let's like, Mercury in your sign, Virgo, you share the same ruling planets. Gemini, sorry, Gemini and Virgo share the same ruling planet of Mercury. So, I kind of feel like this is going to be a great time for like mental peace, spiritual peace. Hopefully you can really vibe with what's going on mentally or, with communication and expression, like if you're writing something or if you're, studying something or traveling, this could be a really good time to put your mind towards some type of focus and finding peace and rejuvenation in that. Also, it's spiritual too. So kind of see, what your spiritual path has looked like this year. And if you do have some goals for maybe some more consistency or to deepen your practice, that would also be good to express this Gemini season. So I think it looks good for um yeah, you to kind of find more balance and tranquility in your life. Um card do I want to pull from here? I have a few different decks, so I'm just trying to mix them in. All right, so I have a lot of beautiful energy. So I have the Empress coming in, so love to see it upright. And then I have the Queen of Cups also upright. So this is a very spiritual time in your life. Like maybe you feel really connected to, your lineage and you're really like studying more about like where you came from, your family, your roots, your heritage. And, it could also be as well like how your relationship is with women in your life. Maybe you feel like you have some divine, beautiful soul-led connections. And I don't know, like I think there's a lot of spiritual energy around you. I think it's very feminine. See how the divine feminine is showing up in your life and in your practice. Maybe you're just feel more connected to the other side or thinking about loved ones on the other side a little bit more, connected more with nature. Like if you are traveling, maybe you're hiking, maybe you're going to the beach. I do feel like these cards are just very, very fulfilling. And, even financially, even in the material, even in the emotional, like you just feel like you're in a good place. And if you don't feel that now, like we have all of Gemini season to work through this. So let's really try to make sure that we keep that optimism really high because these are very beautiful cards. And I don't get this card combination a lot ever, especially with them all upright. So this is just indicating to me like this is going to be like a beautiful golden moment in your life this year. So really take advantage of that and just, try to live your best life and really take stock of the people in your life, especially the feminine connections and, that more Venetian energy in your life too. Um, I think is very important. I have the Princess of Wands up right here. So we have a little bit of fire going on. We have some Aries energy, circulating. And then we have extremism. And the astrology of this is Scorpio and Mercury and Scorpio. So, I do feel like, we have to have some type of duality. We have to have some type of balance. And this is really indicating that it's time for you to not be afraid of confrontation, not be afraid of, if there is some, pretty drastic choices that you need to make. And maybe some of these drastic choices are to put your happiness and fulfillment forward. Let's try to center the Empress. Let's try to center the divine feminine. Let's try to center nature in our lives. And maybe that's an extreme, decision that you need to make. It's like, okay, do I want to go all sustainable? Do I want to go all vegan? Or, whatever it is that's like important to you, how can you really resonate and connect with that? And what kind of action do you need to take to kind of get that going into a routine? But this is listen, look at the nodes, look at this, the North Node in Pisces, the South Node in Virgo, and kind of understand that connection with yourself and follow the degrees, see what degrees of the nodes hit your chart directly and when that's going to be or if that passed and what has been coming up for you. But I just think like there's a lot of extreme choices that you need to make, but they need to have some value and be centered towards peace and femininity, and stability in your life. And I think that is also fostered by some type of spiritual consistency. So that is reading for you, Virgo. All right, Libra, time for you. As knocking them through. All right. Okay, so Libra. I had the Ten of Pentacles reversed, and this is having you really reflect on Are you in alignment with your goals? Are you really at the right place at the right time with the right people with the right seat at the right table? Like I think you're really like questioning that and you want to bring in more into your life. If you're bored or you're feeling like I need more, this is kind of a moment for you to think about that, to think about the big picture. But I think you have plateaued in many ways. Think about your relationships, especially longer term relationships, and really contemplate on if those relationships are giving you anything at all, or even the area you're in, the location that you're in. Do you need to change? Do you need to move? Do you need a change of scenery? Do you need to like redecorate your home? There's just a lot here that you need to kind of contemplate because I do feel like you don't like you're about to overstay your welcome, or maybe you do feel you overstayed your welcome and there's no more growth, there's no more abundance that can come in. And this is something, relatively physical too. This doesn't have to be even psychological things. It's just like this just understanding that you can't reap any more growth and expansion in your environment. And even around some of the people and characters and where you're rooted, it's time to unroot yourself and to figure out what else you can bring into your life that is going to excel you. But I think you've kind of overstayed your welcome in certain areas of your life. Not saying that you have to urgently realign yourself, but I think you need to sit and be present with this energy and just know okay, it's time for me to figure out how I want to move forward, how I want to move on. I do have the Seven of Pentacles here, which there's like patience to this. Like I said, we're not rushing this. And I have the Star reverse, which is like the future and like hope and potential and your talents and abilities. And I think this is also kind of contemplating like, good things take time, especially when it comes to our own self-development, our own self-mastery, our talents and abilities. Good things are going to take time and they can't be rushed. And I think when it comes to your future vision, it's just going to take some time. But you already have a lot of experience. You have already had a foundation. You can rebuild, you can do it again, and it's going to be easier than the first time around that, led you to where you are today. It's going to be easier to unroot. So just know, like, it's not like, don't get panicked or don't get scared about the work that's going to take to realign yourself. But that's why we have to look into our community. We have to look into our friendships and our connections, our people, and really them empower us and give us, faith and encouragement that we can make change in our lives and that it will come in its own divine, perfect timing. All right. So ultimately, the goal of every Libra is to have harmony. Sorry, have harmony here. And this is actually the sun in Libra. So, you want to have a harmonious life, but you also want to make sure it's not stagnant. And I have here the Ten of Wands, which is just saying it's going to require you to really understand what it is that has been weighing on you. I think like you're seeing like the decay, you're seeing things like not flourish or grow or be as easy as you thought they could be. And with the Ten of Wands, it's like you're exactly right. Like these things are becoming pressure, they're becoming burdens, and you kind of need to understand how you need to alleviate yourself of some of these challenges, of some of this pain, of some of this turmoil. And just take your time to like reflect on how this can happen and really be strategic. But I think you need to kind of no longer deepen yourself in a place you no longer want to be. If it's a relationship, if it's a job, if it's a financial situation, a health situation, a home environment, like these are tangible things that you need to really contemplate. Like, what is the block and what is blocking you from harmony? So, you have some work to do, but, take your time through this process and just understand like what is the load and how you can alleviate yourself from some of that burden. So that is the mini tarot scope reading for you, Libra. All right, now we are going to Scorpio here. And Scorpio, you tried to take us out with that full moon on Monday, last Monday. That was a lot. That was a lot. I was like, oh my God. Okay. Intense. And I knew it. I knew this, like, there was something about the Scorpio full moon in May I knew was going to be interesting. So definitely for sure. All right. Okay, so we're starting here with our Father of Cups, and this is traditionally known as the King of Cups. It's up right here. So, this is a card that's really having you think about your relationships and the ones that are really, really like deeply bonded and rooted in like soul, like driven relationships. I do think you have a lot of healthy relationships in your life, but if you are wanting new relationships and new people to come in and give you that deepness, to give you that intimate connection, I do feel that this is a good sign that those people will make their way into your life eventually. So let's kind of see, I think you have a lot of high value in the relationships in your life, and the ones that you're really committed to, you're committed to. But it's also, if you are seeking like a deeper connection, a deeper bond of people, if that hasn't existed in your world yet, this is a good sign that that is going to start, unveiling itself. Like, not saying it's going to happen in Gemini season, not saying it's going to happen in like 4 weeks. I'm just saying it's going to start, feeling like it can become closer, feeling like it can become a reality. Um, so you just have to believe in that. And when you have someone in your life or like multiple people that you're really close with, those are like friends for life. Those are connections and relationships for life. Like you really put a lot of effort and deepness into your relationships, and that's a beautiful gift. So I feel that this is kind of an indication that, more of that will come to you. Okay, so we have some beautiful cards here. We have the Six of Cups, and we have here the garden. And there's a lot of like very nature-oriented scenes here. This is an oracle card from Mike Wilcox, Tarot and Oracle deck. So we're going to start with the Six of Cups because this is thinking about the past. This is thinking about, what initially like led you on a certain path in life, what inspired you, what influenced you, and how you can accumulate more of that shared love and passion from the past, but also how you can continue to bring it forward to enrich your life. And the garden here is like saying that there's so much abundance, there's so much beauty, there's so much connectiveness that is like in your life right now, as well as there's a lot of like usually the garden's like celebration. So it could be like, an upcoming event, some parties like or a wedding or things like that. Like there's definitely like, maybe they're all outside. Like there's just a lot of really fun moments, really social moments at the garden, spending time in nature. And I do think there can be some fun with this card. And the Six of Cups too. It's like, it is maybe you're celebrating your best friend's wedding or something like that. But I do think this is kind of something from your past is kind of making itself known, and it's being celebrated, it's being honored, and maybe it's a goal that's come to pass. With the Father of Cups too, it's just like a lot of love that you have in your heart, and in these like social like situations and moments that are coming up, it's just like finding a lot of like happiness and fulfillment and love with the people in your life, and enjoying the great outdoors, or enjoying something that you've always wanted to do come into fruition. So I think it's a very like joyful energy that's coming in here. And do the things that you love. I think that's like the main message. Do the things that you love, and like get outside, get outdoors, connect with nature, love nature. Um, I have the Three of Wands here, like making sure you do have confidence too. Like, I think you need to like scale your confidence a little bit. Um, and I think, by celebrating yourself or, others, or just having like a lot of beautiful moments, this Gemini season, that will kind of help build your confidence in the world. And then the last card that we're going to pull here is Mercury in Libra, and this is influence. So, just thinking about how the people influence your life, it's kind of like this Adam and Eve type situation here. So it's either we're under positive influences or under negative influences, but it's really thinking about the people in your life and how they influence you with their actions, their decisions, their words, and their motives. And maybe they give you a lack of confidence in some way, shape, or form. And you need to like really understand, are those the right people around you? So you want to make sure that you're around the right people. And, sometimes you might get attached to people from your past because you remember who they were from the past, but are they still a good person in the future? Are they still, you know, in alignment with who you are today? Do they still have good values? Do they still, bring joy and celebration to your life? Are they in a dark place? Are they struggling? And do you want to be involved in that? So there's a lot to unpack here, but I think the main, lesson here is just like really keep that high vibration, and making sure you have, people in your life that are happy to help, you align more with that happiness, and, really watch, the naysayers, the unsupporters, and the people who are influencing you for like better or for worse. So that is your mini Tarotscope, Scorpio. Right. Sagittarius. We're cranking these out. I haven't done Tarotscopes in a very long time, so it's fun to get back to it. All right, starting out strong for you, Sag. I had the Death card, so you probably felt, the moon energy this past week. Because right after that intense Scorpio full moon, we had the Sagittarius. Moon. So, the moon was in Sag. So the next full moon will be yours. So, really thinking about that in the next couple weeks, what it is that, maybe might accumulate in that time. But with the death card, it is thinking about, what has occurred in your life. And, with Gemini season, it's your opposite sign. So you're seeing things in a new way, in a new light. Maybe there's like some transformation that's unfolding before your eyes. Also, too, Jupiter's been in Gemini and it's been struggling. It's almost like done. We have a couple more weeks, but maybe you kind of feel like you're waiting for some relief. You're waiting for something to unfold, something to end, and like you feel really close to it, or maybe you have been able to complete and end something and finalize something, and this could be, good. This could be a relief. This could be, an accomplishment, but it can also be something like, okay, I did that. Maybe it's like, okay, I paid off this credit card, or, I paid off this loan, or I was able to like let go of this disastrous cycle. So it's kind of thinking about the things that you've ended and you've been kind of working on since your birthday. It was just kind of your like 6 month checkpoint on what's been going on. And, have you been steadfast on your journey to accumulate and to do the things that you want to do? Have you been diligent? Have you been devoted to the task at hand? Or have you slacked off and you now need to be a little bit more serious the next 6 months around? Um, so, the decision's up to you, but I think it's a good, this is your progress report. This is your 6 month review. And let's see, what you've been able to accomplish, which I think you've been able to accomplish quite a bit. But then it's also like, okay, what is unfolding that you still need to, complete and to work towards and you can no longer avoid. And I am sensing like there's maybe some emotional pains and endings. We have the Eight of Cups here upright, and then we have the Pisces card upright. So, like sometimes Pisces too is death. And I think there is some type of emotional understanding that you're having with yourself that you need to move on, you need to move forward. Something has died within you, quite literally. It could be psychological, too, emotional, spiritual, but I think there's this understanding that you are, ready to move forward emotionally, like you have the strength. And whatever has died, whatever that you're like tying up any loose ends, like it's giving you an idea of what can you can move forward into. So I do think, death, life, rebirth, like there has been a lot of endings. There has been a lot that you've been able to finalize, even if it's just something on a psychological level, some type of understanding. You are paving way for yourself to enter a new portal this Gemini season. And let's kind of see with the full moon that's happening in a couple weeks, like what you bring into your life and what kind of becomes like a full circle journey moment for you. But a lot of this can be painful. A lot of this can be some deepness and even some fears that you have to reflect on. But, it's kind of like enough is enough. You can no longer live like a half existence, or you have to, in order to make room for more growth, you have to end a pattern, a cycle, like a part of yourself that is just continuously keeping you stuck. Um, I have here the Empress. I want her upright, but you're working on this relationship with yourself. You're working on your self-esteem. You're working on, trying to pick up the pieces after some type of ultimatum or some type of revelation, or, even in this emotional one, it's like, I think I can't move forward with this. And that is something that you got to hold space for, and you have to allow yourself to see through. I have here, which is interesting, like I have the moon in Sagittarius actually, and this is a card of optimism. So, I think this is really saying like in a couple of weeks' time, sorry, I have like allergies right now. Like in a couple of weeks' time, you're going to feel more optimistic, based off of, ooh, bless you, based off of the change that you made back with the Scorpio full moon and, with the past 6 months. Like, hopefully you come into a level of optimism and you can, just have grace with yourself. Like, you have to forgive yourself. You have to let things go. And the Empress is like, there's so much more abundance, there's so much more love and fulfillment and sensuality and the fertility of life that you can embark on into. You just have to stay positive and you have to keep, moving forward away from the emotional ties, away from the dead cycles that have existed for far too long in your life. So let's, focus on who you want to be, who you want to become, and like your value. What do you value now? And how has that value system changed from, 6 months ago? So, yeah, a lot of brainstorming there, Sagittarius. All right. So moving into Capricorn. Hopefully, my allergies don't take over the show here. It's just spring. I'm prone to allergies. Uh, it is what it is. It's a journey. Journey. Okay, Capricorn. So many heavy hitters. Every time I do Tarotscopes, I always get like major cards coming in. It's like the first one. Every time. I've been doing Tarotscopes, like written and virtual, for like 7 years now, and it's just crazy. I always get like major cards right away. So we have here the Hierophant reverse for you, Capricorn, and every time we have like a sister sign season, so like Taurus season, that was it for you. We kind of reevaluate what that element means to us and how that connects with us. And I think you've been, reflecting on your, stability in your life, like what it is that you're doing, what is it that you're maintaining, it could be like physical possessions. And I do feel like this is kind of saying like you're ready for, more of that stability to come in and you're like thinking about new ways to get that. Um, and we also feel too like you are contemplating if people are legitimate. You're also contemplating yourself, like how can I like deepen, my ability? How can I deepen my security? How can I deepen my wisdom? Can I do this with the people around me, the influences and mentors, or do I have to become that myself? So there's a lot here. There's a lot of like contemplating faith, like the faith you have in yourself, the faith you have in what you've been doing, your resources, other people. You've been contemplating, your foundation and, the faith in that. I mean, we've seen like, a lot of structures burn recently. So like even contemplating like the physical, like I guess the physical stability of structures in our lives. But I do feel like there's a lot that has been brought up to you in the terms of like, do you have the right counsel? Do you have the right people mentoring you? Do you have the right knowledge that is going to elevate you? Or can you yourself obtain that and not only obtain it, but to provide it to others? And I think there is this part of you that is craving a little bit more of that in some way, shape, or form, if that makes sense. All right. Actually, I'm gonna put one of these. Okay, so I have our Four of Cups here. So some patience. This is going to take some time to figure out. And I have here our Page of Wands, and it's kind of like how can you, find inspiration in new areas of your life? Like I do feel there's just a lot of like lessons and teachable moments that want to come in. I think you're like craving, more like intellect, or you're craving just more of yourself. You're craving just like a little bit more of like a higher elevation of yourself, and you're still trying to understand how you can best obtain that. And that's just part of the determination, the self-growth of your sign. Like you always want to make sure you're succeeding towards something. And you also want to make sure like you're giving yourself check-ins, like, am I doing it right? There's like this moral high road or like compass that you follow as a Capricorn. And it's like, do I have the right people around me who can give me this type of knowledge? And it's like operating at a very high level. Like you always want to operate at a high level. And that's what I think you're contemplating right now. It's like, are you operating at a high level? Are the people around you operating at a high level? And like, if so, are they like helping you achieve that? Or if they're not, like, is that hindering you in your progress? So there's just a lot to like contemplate there of the four cups, and the page of wands is like you're not necessarily fully sure. And that is something you got to figure out as we move into Gemini season. You need to try new things, you need to experiment, maybe you need to be a little bit more disciplined, to be a little bit more competitive in some area. Maybe you got to like, really brush up on some knowledge and energy there. So there's just a lot. There's a lot going on with that. And it's like inner work. It's inner things. It's invisible because you are, really high achieving. So you want to make sure you're in the right environment, you're around the right people that can help you get to where you need to be. Um, all right. So I'm going to pull another card here. So I pulled an interesting one from this vintage astrology deck. Um, all right, so I have here just like this spring card. So it has the spring zodiac signs, which are Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So it's just kind of really contemplating like what has been the lesson of spring for you? How have you wanted more? This is talking about the first house of identity, the second house of like stability, and then the third house of like intellect. Like those are all areas. Like look at what if there's any planets that are fall into the first three houses in your chart, or if there's like, what your house ruler is, with that zodiac sign and that planet, like really understand the first three houses. Is that something, there's something trying to mold you. There's something that's trying to like push you to be a better version of yourself, and you really have to contemplate what that is and how to go about that. Um, I have here submission, and this is Venus and Pisces. So, we have to also have you contemplate like how are you submitting yourself? Like, do you feel like you're in submission in some way, shape, or form? Do you feel kind of like you're just going with the flow and it is what it is? Like, I think you need to just question like some spiritual commitment. You need to like question the deepness of what you're doing, get real with yourself. Um, the emotional complexities of your life you need to put into question, which is not something that you normally do. That's not something that is, completely, it's kind of foreign to you, but there needs to be this like heartbeat as well. And that might be the problem. The problem is that there is none. Or you kind of lost sight of that. You're like, I forgot how my heart beats because I've been just like in this grind, or I've been just, in this cycle, and it's just been the same but different day. And I just kind of think you need to get back to like a more personal touch of like what's happening really inside of you. And that's why I think it's so important to contemplate the first three houses in your chart to really see what's going on and how you operate there. So that is the tarot scope for you, Capricorn. Now we're moving on to Aquarius. All right. We have our Four of Wands. Our Four of Wands is showing up. So, I think this is a good card for you to really enjoy this airy element with Gemini. Maybe this is a time for you to really showcase a lot of your ideas that kind of feel like really creative and spontaneous and open. And, I think this is good. I think this is very refreshing. It's been like several months since they've been in the element of air. So you're feeling very compatible. You're feeling like, okay, things can work now. Things that you've had your mind to, this might be a good time for you to really like implement a lot of that and put a lot of action towards those things and to share it with others, which is the beautiful part of the Four of Wands. It's like you're sharing joy, you're sharing your talents, your abilities, your creativity of others. Like it's not done alone. So I don't know, I think this feels good. I think you're going to be enjoying this Gemini season and just feeling like, your vitality is back. And I don't know, I like this for you. I think it's definitely a more joyful time for you, and just a time where you can feel more creative, which we love those spurts throughout the year. Um, I have here this magician, so that's also kind of symbolizing some of this energy with the Four of Wands, like just really open to new experiences. Maybe there's some travel, some trips you're taking or going to plan. Um, Communicating with others, hanging out, talking, going, to events, parties, like socializing. Like it just seems really fun. Like I want you to enjoy this Gemini season and do like all the Gemini things. So just try it. Like, just go for it and just kind of see how you collaborate and you connect and you create with others. I do have the Ten of Pentacles. So, another reason why your creativity is able to like kind of take off and you can just feel just in a really good space is because you have a lot going for you in your tangible world that is very rooted and grounded. Maybe you feel good with your health. Maybe you feel better, with your future and have a better handle, like the reins are in your hands. And, maybe professionally or financially, you feel like there's recovery and things are good there. So I just think like this is a good sign that you're able to like enjoy and celebrate and just have like a really fun couple weeks in Gemini season and not worry so much and, really just allowing yourself to do what you want to do and to feel kind of invincible in that moment and just enjoy what you've been able to build too. Enjoy it and enjoy it with others. Okay, I have here the moon reversed. So, this is a clear sign here of, maybe if things are confusing, if things are, I know I said a clear sign and then I just said confusion. I feel like if things like have been confusing or kind of murky and not so like forthright, that will lift for you and you'll have just more concrete, clarity, evidence, information. Like I think it's going to be good to move through this air element to kind of get the information and resources that you need so that you can understand the deeper mysteries. You can understand what's kind of psychically going on. Um, there's always going to be speculation when it comes to the spiritual realm. And, that's with the moon. Like we can only speculate. We're never going to fully know. But I have here Jupiter in Cancer, which is coming in. So, let's try to have more faith, like that with, the star card being your card. Aquarius, you need to have more faith in your future and not be so speculative. Um, and especially, maybe that's something you need to learn with Jupiter and Cancer is to allow yourself to be more open to the forces that are unforeseen. I think like in your tangible world, you're like you do really well. Like you have a little bit of that Saturn-esque Capricorn influence in you. But I also feel like you need to understand um what it is on a spiritual component. Like you can't control everything. You can't perfect everything. You're going to have to be okay with some speculation. You're going to have to be okay with the deeper mysteries and not fully knowing. You can't always control. You have to just let the forces that be show you a different side of life. And that can be fun. Maybe you want to do something more, with meditation or with yoga or spiritual, and you just need to not control it. You need to just let the feelings, let the energy just flow through you when they wanted to. So just be more open. There's a lot of fun moments and opportunity, and don't be so speculative or controlling of a narrative. Let it speak through you how it wants to. So that's the reading for you, Aquarius. Now we're moving into Pisces. We're almost done. Okay. Like I said, it's always like, major cards that come in. So I have here the Lovers reversed, and, this is Gemini. This is the card of Gemini. So I think you really need to make sure that your thoughts aren't getting tangled. You're communicating with others and people are like comprehending, they're listening to you, they're hearing you out. And your words might get lost in translation. You want to also make sure you're living in reality too. That's one thing you kind of can go off in your own like world. And, Gemini is like, very here and now. It's very much like, let's, be present. And I think you're going to have to kind of fight with that. It might be a struggle. But with the lovers, I do think this is kind of telling you, don't be afraid to be open to people, but also, you might be misunderstood. But that doesn't mean you have to like fight or, disconnect from someone. You just have to kind of see things their way and also contemplate, like, I really, creating my own narrative and living in my own dream space of the situation, the reality, or am I really, present with what's going on? So you kind of have to go back and forth with that duality. Okay, so another major, the death card's been showing up. So, I feel like there is this chance of renewal or for in rebirth in your life. See where that's coming from. You've been through a lot. You've been through a lot of hard things. It's been a challenging year for you. We have the North Node in your sign. It's bringing up a lot. from past incarnations and, the past, 18 years ago, 18, 19 years ago, see what's coming in for you. But I do think this is kind of telling you that things need to be talked out. You can't live in your mind. You can talk with a therapist. This is peak therapy energy, but I do think you need to make sure that you also are communicating and talking with people and making sure that there's some mutual understanding. And there's going to be probably some hard truths and hard conversations that come up about yourself and your character and things like that. But I think you also need to hear them too. So it's kind of see, I think it's going to be, there's a lot that's already been circulating this year. It hasn't been an easy year for you to navigate, but I also think there's some avoidance going on that you need to kind of contemplate on where that's coming up and how you can kind of, work through that. I had the death card again. So, let things end, let things die. Um, Focus on your rebirth, focus on, like not everything's going to be resolved. Not everything's going to be patched up in a perfect bow. You just need to move forward. There's other things that you need to put your mind to, your energy to. And yeah, and maybe you already are. Maybe you already feel like, okay, I've wrapped up this chapter. I feel better. I feel like I'm able to really, create something new with my life. That's great. You've done the work. But if you're still in this place where things are still lingering and you're not fully sure what to believe and think, and you're stuck in these crossroads and these like, you feel really down on yourself and things like that, that's kind of an indication that you need to, kind of sit with yourself and like, journal things out, talk things out with like a therapist, with yourself. You can't keep things from yourself and you have to focus on moving forward. And I have versatility. So, you are very talented. You have so many gifts and abilities. And that's why you can't focus on the petty things or the things that, like these cycles that are trying to get out of your life, so that you can focus on all the talent that you have. And this is the sun in Gemini. So this Gemini season, let's try to mix it up. Let's try to bring some new things, talk to some new people, have some new activities, go to some new places. I just think you need a variety, and that could be part of your rebirth. All right. Two more signs. We're gonna make our way to Aries here. And then we have Taurus, and we're done with our little mini scopes. So yeah, hope that was fun. It's fun for me. I haven't done these in a while. I just felt called. I'm like, it's Gemini season. We're gonna do it. Um, all right. Like I said, majors always coming in. So we have our universe, we have our world, and what's so crazy about this is that this is the card of Saturn. And what happens this weekend, Saturn moves into Aries. So perfect. We're starting a new cycle. And it's hard when, Saturn's at the last degree of Pisces. It's brought up a lot, but it's ready for some warrior-esque energy moving into Aries. I mean, Saturn's actually detriment in Aries. So we'll kind of see how things go there. But I do feel like this is kind of saying and symbolizing, especially for Aries, like, letting things go, closing up a cycle and moving forward and just thinking about, what it is that you want for the next 3 years. It's been a journey. It's literally been a journey. But I think yeah, this is just kind of saying Saturn's about to move in Aries. So, focus on this new seed that wants to be planted. So there's a lot here that's coming up. All right. So, I have our Wheel of Fortune. And it's reversed here. So there's a lot of new opportunity coming in. This is also Jupiter. Jupiter's moving into Cancer right after Saturn moves into Aries. So we have a lot of planetary changes here. And I also have here the Three of Wands and, things that are Three of Pentacles, things that are in the works here. And I do feel like there is a lot of opportunity to bring in new things. Let's kind of see like what you're working towards, what you have, for goals this year. This could be like a new turn, a new wheel that kind of like moves in a new direction for you. Um, and I think this is good. Like you have a lot of like, competent people in your life. There's a lot of support in many different areas of your life. I do think things are kind of like moving and shaking, but you're moving towards a new direction too. Like I think you have your eyes set on something new. And you've like finalized a lot and you've already had things in the works, but it's like now you're going to be able to have the momentum to like take them off in a new way. And I like the Wheel of Fortune reverse sometimes because it just means like there's adaptability. There's new things that want to come into fruition and you're going to be in a good place to kind of go on a new journey to accumulate that. Okay, so we have Mercury in the spring, and Mercury was retrograde in Aries in the springtime. So it is kind of contemplating on things that you wanted to accomplish and do that maybe you didn't have the full like mental space or the capacity to do it, and that's going to come back into the fold. I have Mars and Libra, I have Mars and Gemini, so some decisions here maybe even like choices and decisions from the last time that Mars was in Gemini, which was last year. Like, this was like last fall. Like, this is kind of, an indication of, some of the decisions that you made like a year ago. Are those decisions still present? Are they still valid? Are you still, are they still in works? But I feel like there's a lot of choices you need to make. You're putting your mind towards some new things. There's a lot of new projects coming into the fold and like new people you get to work with and connect with. And you're kind of spinning the wheel in a new way. And it's, inventiveness because Saturn's now going to be in your sign. So this feels good. It feels like we can finally, do the things that we said we were going to do the things that we put our mind towards in the beginning of, our birth solar year. So, we just have some decisions of how we want to do that, and we have to not be scattered with them. So that is the energy, the tarot energy for you, Aries. And last but not least, Taurus, last sign. So let's see what's coming in. All right, so we have our Nine of Swords here, and Taurus season was a lot, but I feel like this is kind of telling you like don't fall in despair, don't think negative. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for you right now, but we have to kind of not fret about the monsters underneath our bed. I have the Nine of Swords reversed again. So two different decks. I have the duality of the card. I have the upright version and I have the reversed. So, I do feel like you really need to get your mind in order. There's a lot of back and forth going on. Like, can I do this? Can I not do this? Is this good? Is this bad? Like you're between, two worlds right now. And I think part of this too is just like where your mind is at and like what, type of media that you're consuming, what type of thoughts are running to your head, what type of conversations are you having, what type of books are you reading? Um, I mean, there's kind of a lot that you need to reflect on when it comes to like your mental health. And, I think it's a change of force, it's a change of direction. Maybe you have been taking a lot of really good strategic measures on your mental health. So I think that's amazing. So continue, doing that. But I still think that there's things that you're working on and trying to do, and there's some trying to have some consistency with it. But not every day is easy. We have our moon here. So you're showing your best to be like emotionally aware. And, with that, there's like mental confliction. But we have the Eight of Swords reversed, which I like, which means there are some breakthroughs coming in. So I don't know. I think like have some patience with yourself, feel things out, connect with your intuition, really rely on, crystals, holisticism, spirituality. Maybe you need to meditate, sit by a tree and read a gentle book or take a nap. Like you need space because you're so mentally wound. It's going to take some time for you to really feel like you have a good handle on your life. Especially, maybe there's some overwhelm from your birthday. It's like, oh my gosh, so many things, came up for me. And now I got to figure out what it is that I want to do with this year, with this clean slate. Um, Pull one last card here. So I have our Page of Swords reversed, and I have flattery, which is a little opposite of what we're kind of talking about now. But maybe you need to kind of boost up your morale. Maybe you need some flattery in your life. Maybe you need to flatter yourself. Maybe you need to like boost up your morale. The Page of Swords, like you need to fake it till you make it. I think you need to be out and about and try to push yourself into some type of social situation this Gemini season. Let's, going to a concert, like taking a trip, joining a book club or something. Like you need something to kind of get you out of your own mental trappings. And this can also be a good exercise for your intuition as well if you are allowing yourself to be open to other forms of creative expression, to other forms of intuitive thought and dialogue. Like you need that. So there's a lot that's being revealed to you. It's not going to be the most easiest month, but it's kind of what you do with your mind and where you put your focus. That's going to help you get out of your mental trappings. And you need to really boost up your morale and keep yourself, like happy. Like that's pretty much what it is. Like take it slow, but try to, have some type of optimism to keep you going throughout your day. So that's the Tarotscope for you, Taurus. So those are all the Tarotscopes. So pictures will be available on my Substack. Make sure that you subscribe as well. And I hope you enjoyed these. Hopefully this kind of gives you some insight for the next couple weeks of Gemini season. And yeah, this was fun. We'll see if I do these at a more consistent level. This was kind of like a spontaneous thing, but I enjoyed it. And thank you so much for tuning in.